Welcome back to part 2 with player irons, data, and rankings. With your host, Mikey T, Amateur Hour Golf. This is going to be one of my favorite videos that I've created, and there's a few reasons for it. Being an amateur player, I don't play players irons, and I think this is going to be a really good lesson to explaining to other amateur players that what they can take a chance on out of these irons and some of the irons they just need to stay away from. I'm going to give and be very direct and very pinpoint accurate on a lot of the feedback I'm going to give. Now, when I tested everything in the bay, everything was happening so fast. I don't really give good feedback while I'm in the bay. I just write it down. This is where I give you all that feedback. So stay and watch the entire episode. What I'm going to do is go through the data first, and then I'm going to go through the rankings and the reasons why. And it's going to be important because there's a lot of feel, there's a lot of uncomfortability, comfortability, likes and dislikes, as well as just what felt right and what felt right standing over the ball. So stay tuned, and we're going to go right to the data. All right. So we go to the data now. I don't have any of the clubs open in TrackMan. So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at the P-7MCs. It's the TaylorMade club. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even have to take any of the shots out if I didn't really want to. The clubs hit so well. The consistency was under a 0.5 on club speed as well as ball speed. All the ball speed, everything came off flush. On good hits. The smash factor was pretty well. It was about 1.38, 1.39. The smash factor consistency was is perfect. It was at 0. Launch angle, slightly different deviations. Not too bad, not too crazy. But within, I would say, it says 0.4. I'm looking at a 17.9 to a 19.1 deviation, so maybe a 1 there. Even though I was hitting a 7-iron, so the spin rates for this was a bit on a low side. And on a 7-iron, the mathematical rule is obviously the club number times the iron, which or the club iron number 7 times 1,000, you get 7,000 spin rate. Not always true depending on the actual angle of the club. So obviously there's going to be differentiation, but. For the spin rate was a little low. Did test out to about 4509 or 4500 on the average, but it was consistent on the carry. Even the miss hits went really well. Total distance was at 186. There were just a lot of good things with this club. I would say from a viewpoint, looks, beautiful club. I was annihilating this club, and it felt great. And I'm going to show you how I truly felt just going up here and looking at the correlation of dispersion. And you can't get really, that's pretty damn good. I hit a draw, and it was doing everything I wanted to. So from a club standpoint, give it a thumbs up. Not going to go through the rankings yet. We're just going to go through the data. But for me, the only objective data that I didn't like was the spin rate on this. And that could be a user error. But for me, comparatively to the other clubs, I did notice that it was low. So that's the only bad take I'm going to take from this. So we put that away, and then we go to the King Cobra Tour. Now, I did have to take a few shots off because this was a club that was difficult to hit, not as forgiving. But as you could tell, the spin rate was pretty high on this. A little higher, even though we had a 66.4. Even if I were to, take this away, it would still be 57. It would still be 300 spin rate above the other club, the P-7MC. But let's go through the consistencies. Didn't go over one on the consistency, and then the ball speed was very consistent. Smash factor consistent on this. So when you do hit the club well, very consistent. Launch angles. I did get one up at 21.9, which I was actually pretty impressed with. That got a lot of spin. Didn't carry as far as the others. My average was a 173.4. From a comparison to the P7MC, about about 4 yards difference in favor of the PMC, but spin rate was a little better here. Also, the other thing I did notice is that the apex to height was a little higher here comparatively to the P7MCs. And the dispersion, like I said, I had a difficult time hitting this club. Usually for me, I can get, basically everything within this area here. That's usually the perfect shot for me, but, I did hook one. I did leave one out right. Am I saying this is a bad club? No. I'm just saying, comparatively to the other clubs, I had a little more tricky time hitting this. So, after that, we go to the Ping I59. So the Ping was actually relatively easy to hit. I had a much easier time hitting this, and it definitely showed. For me, I looked at this and looked at the distance, 174. I looked at the spin rate too. Spin rate was very good on this club. What gave it away, and the one thing I really liked about this club is, one, it was easy to hit. The club speed, the ball speed, the consistency on the ball speed was actually lower than the consistency of the club speed. To me, that's really good. That's actually fantastic. Smash factor was clean. The launch angles were a little higher, so the angle of that club probably a little more adjusted for height. Spin rate was really good for me on a 7-iron. Even though it's not 7,000 number, it's still good comparatively to what you just saw. Was carrying pretty well. Carried 1 yard further than the Cobra King, and then it was 3 yards under the P-7MC, and total distance was 180. So for a 7-iron, pretty good. Like I said, I don't want to give the rankings away, but in reality, I want to save that, after we go over the data. And, this to continue on of, me giving that data. I love making these videos for you specifically. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button right now because I love doing this for you guys. For me, I haven't had so much fun in golf until I started making these videos. Not just making the data videos, but going on courses, testing irons, things like that. I've had more fun in the last, I would say, 6 months of doing this compared to actually the last few years. So I'm enjoying this a lot. So if you like that, good. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to keep on doing this. I love doing this. So enough of that. We go to the next club and Ping. Give it a thumbs up. We're going to go to the Callaway Pro 21. Now, took a few shots off of this. Consistency on the club speed. Ball speed was shooting off in a few different areas. Not going to lie, I did have a problem hitting this club. Launch angle was good. The one thing that I was very impressed with this club is look at all the spin rates. 10, 50 difference, 40 difference comparatively. They were all within, the one thing I did notice, and I said with this club in the video before, feast or famine really shows. Carry distance was at 170. These carried pretty far. Callaway, I'm not really, expecting anything less from Callaway. I did have a difficult time hitting these, though. Even though these numbers show well, there were certain things about the club that I'll go into in more detail. But do they get the thumbs up for now? They do. And what I do want to show is the two last ones too. So I didn't get to show the Ping one. The Ping I had a hard time controlling. I did have one over here, one over here. Like I said, my sweet spot's right in this area. And I apologize for going past Ping and not showing its correlation on dispersion. And then we close that. We go to the Callaway Pro. And then the dispersion was a little more difficult to control for me. Like I said, I hit a nice little draw. And I was getting a few on the line, which is a good thing. But my aiming spot was more here. I hooked a few. And, this kind of shows what the clubs are all about. There's a lot of information to take in here. But let's continue. I want to go to the Srixon next. The Srixon, I took out a lot of shots. Again, another club I had a difficult time hitting. Kept it at, good club speed. Oh, the good thing is all these irons, I had good club speeds with them. The ball speed was pretty high. These shot off pretty well. Um, the launch angles were good, but the spin rates on a few of them, even with the launch angles being high, they weren't spinning, but they did hold better than most of the clubs. They were about halfway. If I had to rank spin, probably in that mid tier comparatively to the other players' irons. They carried 174. They bested at 182, 181, 182. Height was good. These got up. The one thing about these is these got up fast for me. Now, were they the easiest club to hit? I think my dispersion shows that I had a very difficult time hitting these. I had a very tricky time controlling the dispersion and the draw. And a lot of the, we'll go more into it in the rankings. I'll go over each and every club, but I didn't have an easy time hitting this one. Titleist T100s. Now, consistency of swing, ball speed was really good, a little lower than the others, and that's going to show in the distance. The other ones I had about 122 on average. Here, the ball speed, I had 117, 119, 119. But the one thing I'm going to say, one is that the spin rate was higher. Two, even though the carry was a little like at 171, comparatively to the P-7MC 6 yards shorter, I felt very in control of these clubs. These are clubs that I can actually see myself playing, and the reason being is that I was able to manipulate that club and basically do anything I wanted with it. Even though the numbers are lower, I always go by what I can control and how it feels, and it felt really good. I was able to draw these really well, and I was getting good spin rates as well as getting good height with these. So for me, they got a thumbs up for now. Until we go to the rankings, then we don't know. We never know with the rankings. We're going to get a lot of detail off of that. But for right now, thumbs up. And then the Mizuno Pro 223s, I don't want you to mix these up. These are not the JPX HOT METAL 223s. These are the Mizuno Pro 223s. And they were really, they were good. They had very good ball speeds off the club face. They were carrying 176. Even on my the smash factors on the lower aspects, they were still carrying about 172. Total 184. So distance-wise, they didn't have any issues. Spin rate was at that mid-tier. Comparatively to all the clubs, right in that middle ground. They weren't 5,400. They weren't anything over 6,100 for me. I know it's 7,000 on the 7-iron. I don't hit spinny shots. I have a very unique swing, as you can all see. But I did want to show one thing here, and that is the correlation of dispersion. Now, this isn't bad. When I have two balls on top of each other and I'm drawing it in, that's still pretty good. I was still able to manipulate these to the way I wanted them to. So I look at this club as they get a thumbs up. The data definitely showed that the carry was pretty good. One of the better carrying clubs. 176, I had varying from 171 to 177, 178. So, obviously you pick your poison with these, but for me, even though there's distances that, for example, the Titleist, T100s, even though they are, I think, 176, 170, so about a 5-6 yard difference, I'm able to control this a lot better. You got to think of it, what's more important, 5 yards or the control like this? On the green, it's a game of feet. So you play the right irons that get you that correlation of good dispersion when you're playing your irons on a real course. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the rankings. I'm going to go through them and give the exact reasons why I'm putting them. And that's it. Other than that, when we come back, we are going to go through the rankings and the reasons why everything is ranked the way they are. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. And now we go directly to the player iron rankings for 2022 and a bonus. So let's go through all of them. Watch till the end because I'm throwing a little bonus feature in there It's going to throw all of you for a loop because I know you're all going to ask the same question, and I'm going to answer it for you. What's that question? Stay tuned. So, coming in 7th out of the 7 clubs, for me, it's very hard to rank this club at 7 because I am currently playing that brand. But with these player irons, I couldn't get a good feel for it. And I even named it, I said it in my video, it felt like Feast or Famine. I don't like that. So if you're an amateur player, I would stay away from these, the Callaway Pro 21s. I also spoke to a pro that's playing them, and he's changing off of them because they're just very difficult to hit. You have to hit the center of that club face, and they're a very hard club to manipulate, movements. Also, when you miss-hit it, you feel it. And it's not a good feeling off the club. The other clubs, there's other clubs that kind of had that same feel, and we're going to go over that. But a little disappointed at it just because I play those irons. I play Callaway. But I have to rank them, me being for my viewers and for the people out there in the golf world that want to get an amateur's perspective of hitting player irons, I would rate the Callaway Pro 21s at 7 out of 7, or 7th place. In 6th, I would say the Srixon ZX7s. Had a very hard time manipulating these clubs. I hit them a good amount too, and when I did, they weren't forgiving, which that's fine. They were player irons. They're true player irons. Now, if you're a really good ball striker, you catch from center, you may have different, analysis on that, and that's fine. I'm giving again an amateur perspective, but these were not going to where I wanted them. It felt very awkward on the misses. It didn't hurt. It just didn't feel right. You hit them on the toe. It just gave a different type of vibration. I didn't like the overall feel of the club. And then for me, not being able to manipulate my draw, which is my bread and butter, for me, that's, that gets thrown out the window. But I'm still going to rank it at 6 over 7 because I think the Callaway Pro 21s, they just didn't do it for me this year. In 5th, the Cobra King Tours. Hitting them, they go a good distance. So the one thing I did like about them is they do travel. They're good to look at too from above. When you hit them, they sting like hell if you hit them. But the worst part about it is they still carry a decent distance on the mishits. So you're probably like, wait, so this club hurts? Well, if you hit it in the wrong places, you'll definitely feel the vibration up to the hand. But do I say it's an awful club? No, I wouldn't rank it 5th out of 7 if that were the case. But I would say if you are if you're an average player and you're thinking maybe I can hit, I can hit player irons, and you're coming off of game improvement irons and you want to give it a try, this is not the club to do it. You can give it a try. I just don't think it's going to be worth your time. Because if you can't manipulate your own club, there's no point of going to a game or a player iron from a game improvement iron. Now we change a little bit here because the other 3 I wasn't hitting these too well, but the 4th place one, this is where it actually gets hard because then the clubs start getting good, and this is where I sat there. I'm like, crap, like how do I rank these? And then I hate to say I'm ranking these 4th because I was getting, there were a few mishits. I didn't like it, some of the feel, but overall, I mean, I was getting great spin rates with these. I was getting good height. Is the Ping I59s. Now, am I saying that an amateur can't play these? Absolutely not. Actually, to tell you the truth, I feel like an amateur should. That's right at the cusp of if an amateur should give it a try in a bay if they want to jump to a game improvement iron. Now, are there easier ones to hit in my personal view? Yeah. Do I still think this is I was smashing these. When I hit them, they had great carry, they had great height. The spin rate was at 6,000, probably it was my highest spin rated iron. So, very happy with this club. Is it 4 out of 7 because it's a bad club? No. It's 4 out of 7 because for an amateur player, it may not be the easiest club to hit. Now, if I'm a pro or I have a low handicap and I'm an excellent striker, you may want to try these, obviously, because these, when I did catch them square and center, they did exactly what I wanted to with great height and great spin rate. So, depending on the golfer here. If you're good, basically, if you're good, try these out. If you're average, maybe. If you're not a good, if you are a below ball striker, I would not try these. Number 3, the Mizuno Pro 223s. These felt fantastic all around. Now, for me, the one thing that I loved about these is that when you hit these, they didn't vibrate. They didn't come up to the hand. They felt good all around. So for me, the one thing I did see, the spin rate was around 5,800, which is low for a 7-iron, but it was good for me. But I mishit when, the good thing about being an amateur player is that when you mishit a lot of the irons not in center, I can give you the realistic feedback. These were carrying good distance. They were still going to my draw. The draw was great. If you saw before in a nice circle, everything was in my draw shape, my manipulation shape. It's a great club, and this is something that I would highly suggest if you want to come off a game improvement iron and you really want to give a player iron a chance. This is a club I definitely suggest or try. So number 2. Which one is going to get number 2 and which one's going to get number 1? Now, I said I like these both. And if I'm being honest, I have to go with the T100s at 2. It was really close. The correlation of dispersion was amazing. The only thing that I can say comparatively to the number 1 club is that I just lost distance. That was it. I was at 171 yards. Spin rate was exactly where I wanted it. I mishit this club. It still had its draw shape. It still went the distance. Even on bad mishits, it still was carrying. So it was for a player's iron, I'm actually shocked at how forgiving the T100s actually were. If you are an average ball striker, you can actually transition to these. Now, I'm not saying, oh my God, give this player iron a try, but I'm saying you can actually give this a try if you want to hit a player iron, because I felt really good over this, and I tried mishitting these on purpose, and it still felt good. Leaving the number 1, the TaylorMade P-7MC. This club felt amazing. I mishit this on the inside, the outside. When I hit it center, it just, in that data sheet, I didn't have to pull any shots. I had to force myself because I wanted to give top 5 shots on each one. I had mishits on this. They were still carrying the same distance. They hit square. Everything about this club. I was so impressed to the tiniest detail. For me, this is a definite have to try to put in the bag. And for me, this is definitely my number 1. And then now we go to the bonus. Well, Mike, the JPX HOT METAL, Mizuno, the pros came out. Did you test them? I did a video on them. And yeah, I'm going to put them in here. And we're just going to rearrange the rankings right this second in real time. And do the JPX Mizuno pros, do the HOT METAL pros take 1? They don't even take 1 or 2. I rank these at 3. I still think the P-7MCs and the T100s, for me, tested out better than the JPX HOT METAL pros. Still, those clubs felt like butter. But for bonus coverage, I ranked them at 3. I was able to manipulate those clubs just as well as the Mizuno Pro 223s. I think they're better than the Mizuno Pro 223s. But I'm still going to put them under the T100s and the P-7MCs. So that ends my rankings, and that, for me, that's going to give all the details of why I went with these in these rankings. There is just some player irons as an amateur I'm just not going to be able to hit, and most likely if your ball striking abilities aren't above par, you're not going to be able to hit these either. And if you can, good for you. That's even better. I mean, that means you have better swing than I do. My swing's a little unique. But, you know, as a ball striker, I do hit them pretty well. So I'm hoping this gives you that information to go into the bay and be like, hey, that bald, ugly, fat dude on Amateur Hour Golf said that these are pretty, you know, easy irons for players' irons to hit, and they can actually be manipulated pretty easily. So that is going to end the ranking session of this video. I hope you like the content. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. I love doing, like I said before, I love doing this. For me, I haven't had this much fun playing golf, hitting golf clubs in a very long time. And I love doing this for you because what happens is you guys get a lot of information from pros that like, hey, you know, I'm hitting this. It's fantastic. And if you're a pro, you don't have a handicap, and you're probably striking out a ball in the middle every time. For us amateurs, we're going to have difference of opinions, and I'm giving you the realistic feel on mishits and everything that I felt. So we're probably going to have more in common than most of the better, you know, ball strikers that catch that in the center of the club. So again, if you haven't yet, hit that like button and also hit that subscribe button. And other than that, I thank you for watching another one of my videos. And then that is it. Be safe. Thanksgiving is coming. And make sure you're spending it with your families. Have a great one, everybody.